Hello, Print Society. It's been a while, but I will get back to producing quality content. We recently moved into another suite, so I'll have a video of that pretty soon, and then we'll start fresh with a lot more content. Now, I went live in one of the Facebook groups, and I think it was well received. So we just finished with the live, but I want to go ahead and upload this to YouTube as well. And these are pro tips for Acrorip that I haven't really seen many people talk about, and these will elevate your DTF printing game to the next level if you run your own testing and see what works for you. So thank you for watching, and check it out. Welcome, welcome. We're going to do a sound check, visual test, make sure everything was crisp and clear. I had some technical issues, but we are here. I'm actually going to be cross-post it into the other groups, but we will be working in Acrorip today. Hope you can see this. And again, today we will be covering pro tips within Acrorip for DTF printing. And I will also be doing a live Q&A, so get your questions ready, and hopefully I can answer them for you. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me and that the video is working properly. Okay, thank you, Loving Life. I appreciate you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started, and you guys can check catch the replay. Here, I don't want to be too winded, but I do want to get this information out to some of the people that are starting in the groups that have just started DTF printing. I know how difficult it could be just learning the printer, let alone the software. So one of the first things that I want to share with some of you guys is that there was a question that was asked in the DTF for Beginners group. I think it was a couple of days ago, where someone said, hey, how can I open up a job where it saves the settings from the previous job? So instead of going from file to open, instead of opening your artwork like that to import your jobs, I would recommend right-clicking on a previous job and opening from there. When you do this, it will actually save the settings from the previous job that you opened it from. So also, when you experience a crash within Acrorip, sometimes it saves your settings, sometimes it doesn't. So when you finish for the day, just in case your computer sleeps or shuts down, another thing that I wanted to share with you guys is to go to File and Exit. Don't close the window out with standard, X to close it out. You will want to go to File and Exit, and what that does is it sends a command to save all of the previous settings that were there, so that the next time you come in to print, everything's already in set from the last time that you hit File and Exit. So those are two ways for the Grip software to save your settings, and that's only going to be in terms of using Acrorip. I have no experience with CatLink. Maybe in the future I'll try to learn. But remember, this is a Q&A also, so if you're here, just let me know where you're from. My shop is located in Cedar Hill, Texas, and we also sell inks and all sorts of things. Here's my brand of ink, Pop DTF ink. I hope you can see that. You can also go to popdtfink.com. Big Boy, I'm sure you know Big Boy has inks as well, great quality inks, but we like to network together. So the next thing that I want to talk about is staggered prints. So I've seen a couple of times, and I've experienced this a couple of times, where when you print, the white layer will be what I call staggered, or offset is the technical term. It's actually offset to where you have where your colors print, but the white layer prints just a step down or a step ahead of your colors. And what I found is that this is actually an uncommon bug within Acrorip, and it's actually due to the resolution setup. So I've narrowed it down to either these two resolutions on the right hand side on this panel tab here. Either these two resolutions need to match. see if I can make this a little bit bigger here. These two resolutions need to match for your white and color. I've also seen where if they don't match, you can keep your white at 1440 by 1440 and then take your colors down to 720 by 1440. For whatever reason, it bypasses that bug. So if you ever see that, just try adjusting your resolution and just see what works for you. And when you do this, I would recommend scaling your image down to where you can test it on a small run versus an entire game sheet. And I think I covered that last time, but if you were to prepare a game sheet. If you're using Acrorip 10, you cannot add, like here, you can right click and hit add image and upload multiple, or import multiple images rather. You cannot do this in Acrorip 10, but within Acrorip 11, you can just add an image and allow it to place it on the canvas here, and then you would go to the layout tab and let it know how many times you want that specific image to repeat. Now, I also want to get into an issue that I've seen with some other people in the groups, again, with the white empty error or a color empty error also. I've seen both of them. So here we have a purge sheet that we run every day. It's just a white rectangle that helps me tell whether or not all of the ink is ready to go. We have to make sure that our ink delivery is there before we actually run a print. That way we don't waste our color. So I would rather purge the whites. So this is just a white rectangle. We also call it a purge sheet. And I like to make sure everything is ready to go before we start our print run for the day. So if you get a color empty notification, it's likely due to there not being any sort of pixels of color in your design. So let's say you're printing a white only image, which this one has a slight border on it. So usually you would deselect both of these options and then hit print and send it over to the printer. So if you're printing a color image, you want to make sure both of those boxes are selected, meaning or being print color first and print white plus color. And those two together tell the RIP software the order in which you want to lay down the colors. Because in DTF printing, I like to call it an overbase. So in DTG, direct to garment, you have an underbase of white, but with DTF, we're printing on the film. So it's actually an overbase is your white layer to later be powder cured and then flipped over on the shirt. So there's a little tidbit there. If you are worried about that color empty message or the white empty message, you don't have to put a colored dot. I've seen people mention that. You can print that way. If this is recorded, I want to show it to my daughter, but she's at work. Yes, it will be recorded. You'll be able to go back and see this later. I may upload it to YouTube, or I may just create a totally different deal. I don't know, but I'm sure my subscribers could benefit from this as well. So yeah, feel free to share this. Share it in other groups as well. I've seen a lot of people have issues with Acrorip. That's more so a beef on the software developer, which thank you for making me an authorized seller. So if you would like to purchase Acrorip 10 or 11, you can go to popbtf.com and you'll see it there in the products. And we are an authorized seller. So I'm thankful for them, but it will be a lot greater if the software developer could put some sort of manual together so that people like me don't have to do all of the deep dive and digging and then try to disseminate that information down to the beginners. It would help if they could do that for us. But why would they do that when they have people like me and Veronica Hernandez and 4D Solutions to do those things? So on a lighter note, we can move on to let's see, black knockout. Now, we wouldn't want to knock the black out of this image, but firstly, let me go ahead and I should have done this beforehand, but let me go to the layout tab and we need to change this. What size is this? 10, 11, 12. So we'll just say, I'll say 13 by 13 inches. That way we can zoom in because Acrorip doesn't have a zoom in feature. Okay. That's good. And then I'll change my template also. So we'll go to View, Template, and the template represents this red line here. And we'll change that to where they both perfectly match. So that's going to be for the width and the height. It's 13. We can hit apply and OK. And everything stands nice and even. Now, if you have a design that kind of appears obscure or offset to the side, you can also right click, go to Justify, and then Horizontal Center. And that will make sure that artwork aligns perfectly into the center of your, what I call an artboard, even though this is an Illustrator. The first thing that you also want to do is to mirror the image or you'll regret it. And if we were going to do black knockout, I would go to the white tab, and this little slider here, you can go to remove black ink, and you can tell it how much black to remove. So obviously 100% is a full fill, and just at 98%, it's less and less. And so then it goes to the darker and darker hues of the artwork itself. So if you were going to do a black knockout, the feature doesn't work really great. And I'm checking the comments here. Okay, I don't see anything. Is DTG or DTF best for small business? It depends. So DTG has been around for so longer than I've been in business, which is 13 years now. So DTG is a really old process. So so let me start with the fact that every printing method has its place, whether it be sublimation, DTG, DTF, screen printing, DST, which is like a hybrids, is just after like the plastisol screen printing, in between that, and DTF. So it's DST. That's what I believe Supercolor used to use before DTF started to take over. But to try to answer your question, I would say that DTG it may be good, but there's a lot of maintenance. But with time, the maintenance on DTG printers has gotten a lot easier. But I think that DTF will probably be the best for beginners, whether you order your transfer from somewhere, such as 4D Solutions. There are other qualified people in the group that sell transfers as well. Look at that recommended list. I sell transfers to those that come to me. You just have to send us an email, although I don't really promote it as a service. But we have many customers here locally that love our transfers, so you can give me a shout at info@eleganteditsco.com if you'd like to have us run some transfers for you. But that's not my primary business model to print transfers. Although we appreciate you if you'd like us to be your vendor for your prints. But to future-proof your business, I would say DTF might be really good for you, whether you buy the transfers and resell them, you buy the transfers and press them to your garments to help you get started to save up for the purchase of your own printer, or whether it be to buy a printer, convert it, or buy one, convert it to run transfers. So where I think that DTF shines over DTG is that if you want to do B2B, let's say to business sales, I would say that you can future-proof your printing business by getting into DTF printing, because you can also offer t-shirts or transfers to other business owners that want to press the transfers to the t-shirts, versus with DTG, you're limited to pressing t-shirts for people only. You see, so you can't exactly make a DTG printed transfer because it's direct to garment, versus direct to film. You can print your own transfers and press to your own garments, or you can go a step further and offer the transfers as a service. So I think it's better for a new small business, to double dip. So you're getting it on both sides of the spectrum, and I believe that will future-proof your business once everyone's making transfers and all of that. Then it's going to become a little bit more saturated. But if you want the best and softest feel on a shirt, it's probably going to be the water-based screen printing, which It's a lot to get into for a beginner or DTG printing, but you're still limited to loading, pre-treating the shirt, loading it to the flatten, preparing the artwork, and it has to print directly to the garment. Versus with DTF, you can prepare a gang sheet, run it to the printer, powder, cure, and you're already pressing multiple shirts in the time that it would take a good DTG printer to print about maybe 2 or 3 shirts. And then you still have to pre-treat shirts as well with DTG, and then you have to secure them through like a conveyor dryer or something like that. So moving on to one of the pro tips. So one of the pro tips was the removing the black, but I would recommend doing this in a design software, unless you have something like this image here, where the black is clearly visible and you want to remove that. So this is something that some people may not believe, but you have many different types of methods. So you have 2 different types of DTF printers. You have, and I'm talking about the people who print. So you have people that buy a printer and they want to stick to the information that they were given from their vendor or from their supplier, whoever supplies or distributor of the printer. Then you have other sorts of people that don't really want to stick to the standard, which is 100% white under each color pixel. So that's a full white layer. So when you see people printing and they have a really thick, solid, heavy white layer, you actually don't want that in terms of the soft hand, what we call a soft hand when you run your hand across the garment. For a soft hand, you actually want to print gradient white. And this is found within Acrorip underneath the white tab. So you have layout, printer, color, and white. Underneath the white tab, if you go down to the white layer generation, you want to click the gradient white under each color pixel. We also have our view set to white so that you can clearly see what's happening here. And this is a pro move. Now, you have to be careful with this because with gradient white, what it's going to do is it's going to print white as needed. So you'll get a full delivery, so you get nearly 100% white. Under the lighter areas, as you can see here, these lighter neon-esque colors, here you'll see more white that's generated versus where it says nurse. So if I go back to the white layer, you'll see there's no white being laid down at all underneath nurse. So underneath the word nurse, because it's black. So black will always be black no matter what color you print on. But you have to be careful because let's say you have a dry fit red shirt, that's about the most bleed you're going to get out of any sort of garment. You don't want your whites to turn pink, or you don't want your whites to look opaque, because while you may print, okay, we don't have any more questions. That's good so far. But I'll still be looking to make sure we don't have any questions over there. But if you don't want your whites to mute out or become opaque, you want to get that full delivery on the white areas. But you still want to print just a little bit color or white ink on the back of the black areas, because white DTF ink is the only ink that actually has latex in it. So all of the colors, they're just color. So they're formulated differently from the white ink. So the white ink is where you get the stretch and the rebound from. So to prevent the transfer from cracking, depending on the type of shirt you're using, if it's pre-shrunk, you can probably get away with not printing any white on the black. But just to be safe, you want to use the slider here. So the starting position represents the starting position of where the whites will be. So you'll go from 0 white with the gradient all the way to 50%. And I think depending on the type of ink, the brand of ink you're using, I believe that you can get away with just the 50. So what you'll want to do is use like a dry fit red shirt to test for your perfect white layer generation. And you'll have to play around with the slider. And the best way to do this would just be to put a line of white boxes. So you can do that in your design software and import that. And just try printing these squares with different white layer generations, and then you can mark that on your film to see where your whites fall. And just above where the whites start to appear pink, you know that you need to go a little bit higher for the ink limit percentage or the white layer percentage. So this represents a baseline. So you have 0% to 50%. Now to take it a step farther is if step further would be the next slider. So this controls the white across the entire transfer. So as we increase this, we'll see a full delivery. So this would be pretty close to 100% white. That's why if I click gradient now and 100% white, it looks identical because we have a full delivery. So if we go back to gradient, start at 50%, we can back off just a little bit. And if we go to print this and we see that we need a little bit more white behind our blacks, you can increase this to even 99%. But if you go to 100%, you can see that sort of shift in the word nurse because that's the only black that we see here in the image. So again, we have two types of people that print with DTF. Those that want to follow the standards and procedure, that's fine, because when you bake a cake, I would rather follow all of the directions instead of deviating from that list of instructions, and you end up with a mess and wasted material. So that's good. But for someone that wants to take that information and say, you know what, I want to print the best and softest transfer that that'll be best for my customers. It's going to wash well and to build a good rapport with new customers to where you can stand above the rest of the people selling transfers. Again, it's like we talked about the D2G versus DTF. My goal in teaching people, and I have a mastery class too on popdtf.com. I have a mastery class where I keep adding to the course for the people that want to take their DTF game to the next level. And I'm learning too. So as I learn, I add more to that mastery class to help build your business as well, to give you these tips. So we want to future-proof our business. I don't want to just print at 100% white. No, if we print a transfer, I want it to be the softest transfer that anyone's ever pressed that are still going to be durable. And if you print with a gradient layer, at the least bit, you'll save on your white ink because you're laying down white ink. So you're laying down less ink and you still get high yield. So with our Pop DTF inks, I can only speak for our inks. You can't, but you can get away with printing less white because our whites aren't what I call opaque. So they have a high yield. And by high yield, I mean that per, you want to say square inch or per linear foot or whatever, with the droplet size of your print head, depending on how many nozzles you have, you may not need to lay down as much white to still get the same color and vibrancy as you would with other people's white ink. So with that said, you want to see and do your own testing. I am only here to show you how you can do this if you use Acrorip. Again, if you have any questions, please list them here in the comments and we'll move forward with this. And I didn't plan on doing this, but let's just do it live here. So let me go back. Let's just start this. I'm actually going to print this. I didn't plan on it, but I think it's better if I show you. And I'll print it twice. Let's do that. So we can start at 50%, and I'm still in the preview. That's why I can't see the white. So we'll start with 100% white first. Let me check my ink limit, 48. That should be okay. This is the first print of the day. All I did was ran a purge sheet. So let's see how this goes. So let me change my template back to where we had it. So this is 23.5 by, yeah, let's just change it back because I have to do a print run after this. So now I need to change my template. Okay, so change my layout to match. So it's 23.5 because we're printing on a 24-inch roll by, let's say 300 or 100. I think it's 300. Okay, so let's take this down to 100 so we can see a little bit. Back to our template, 100. And again, like I told you earlier, we want to go to justify, top left, justify, horizontal center. So when we print transfers, it's easier. If you're printing them for people, it's always, your artwork's always in the center. So always use that justify tool. So now I'll change this back to preview. We've mirrored our artwork here, and I can send this over to the printer. Mirrored it. You can right click, print, and I'm double checking. Print color first, white plus color, and we'll send this over to our 9890 here. So this will be 100% white, but it's the first print of the day, so it may be a little opaque, but that's why we run a purge sheet, so that we can make sure our ink delivery is there. Or I may be surprised and we'll have a full solid layer of white. And so this will represent a soft transfer. I have it dialed down, so we have our ink limit percentage set at 48 here, and everything should be plugged up. Okay, I have to double check that. And I have the Epson 9890 converted right behind me here. And we do local printer sales here, you know, or you can pick it up from out of town if you're interested. Just reach out to me. We do convert printers, but we only do it locally. So you either have to pick up from a shop here in Cedar Hill, Texas. You just have to pick it up. They're too big to ship. It's too expensive. But if you're interested in a printer like this, just let me know. We don't really advertise it, but we offer a 90-day warranty on all parts except for the head, because with every unit we put a new head in. And I have partnered with a certified Epson tech, so if you have any issues in the future, we can get parts for you. But let me know if you're interested in that. If not, just enjoy the information and the prints. So we're going to try this at 100%, and I'll go ahead and cue this for the next example. So we'll go back to our white layer generation, gradient, and we'll take this down from 100% down to, let's see, I want you to be able to see the difference. That's fine. Maybe I'll print 3, but I'll show you 2. Go ahead and hit print, but I won't send the command until I'm finished. All right, again, if you have any questions in terms of Acrorip, if you're stuck on anything, you can reach out to me. If there's something that you can send me pictures of, then I usually don't charge people. If you want to schedule a live session, one-on-one with, in terms of learning how to design, I have an AI class that's coming up here. You can do it via Zoom or in person. And master classes there on the site too. Just reach out to me and you can pay for that. But if you send me pictures of your setup, usually I don't charge people if I can handle it in a text message. So I help people troubleshooting on there, or if we need to schedule that live session, you can actually, in fact, I'll post a services link so that you guys can bookmark that or save it if need be. So let me do that while we're waiting on the printer to run this print. Okay, now that link is for the Zoom classes as well as the in-person classes for the training. So we'll be starting here soon. But if you book it, we're doing it. If you want to learn how to print and design and print AI images and take them into Adobe Illustrator and make them more tailored to your customer or to yourself, this is the way to go. So I'm ready to teach. I enjoy teaching prints, or teaching people how to print versus running the prints. I've done this for 13 years, so I get the value out of seeing you guys' prints. So let me know if you need that. Again, we have Pop DTF Inks that has officially launched. And again, Big Boy has inks, also, but he's allowed me to come into the group and share my brand with you guys and share some knowledge. So it's a privilege that I'm able to do so. So this print should be about done. I probably should have scaled this down. That way it doesn't take so long. So the next one I'll scale it down. I don't like scaling images in Acrorip. I like scaling it in my design software so that I'm certain of how it's going to print. So we'll make this one a little bit smaller. That way we can compare the two for the gradient layer and you can actually see it. So I probably could have lightened up this ink limit, but I won't change anything. Probably could have done so the colors would be a lot more vibrant, maybe 28, 29% on the color ink limit. So how the ink limit works while we're waiting on this is the higher the value in these fields, the heavier or the more ink is going to lay down. So if we had an ink limit of 50 for our colors, they would be a lot darker. So I would want to use a low ink limit percentage when we're printing these neon S colors in this nurse design here. So the same with your color, or the same with your white layer. The higher the ink limit percentage, the more delivery you'll have. So if you find that your white layer is really heavy, just back it down a bit, run a small curved sheet or a text or a square, a white square or a white rectangle, press it onto the garment and just see how it feels before you commit to the full print run. Now, there's also, so this will be plenty of value here. So if we find that we have a low ink limit percentage, but we want to brighten up the colors too, you can come down here where it says brightness. So we have our brightness at 120. By default, within Acrorip, the brightness is set to 100, but sometimes you need a bit more. You find out that the color should be a little bit darker. You can go and adjust that there. Oh, yeah, while I'm at it, it's probably a good thing. So I told you guys that I'll show you how to install ICC profiles. So let's just do this live while I'm here. I love doing this. So with the ICC profile, so if you're using Big Boy's ICC profile, you have it, you have Acrorip and you're wondering how you can import it, all you need to do is, let's open up this is called Windows Explorer or the file cabinet. So you'll open that and you'll need to access the C drive. Now, if you're using Acrorip 10, your folder will say DTG rip, and if you're using Acrorip 11, it'll say DTF rip. So since we're using Acrorip 11, we can go to DTF rip. I hope you can see this. And it's been a long time, so let me see here. It's been a while. Profile. You'll double click on profile and default profiles. Oh no, I'm sorry. But it's still live. I like that. CMYK. So let me go back. So we're thorough here. You're going to access the C drive. You have DTG. It'll be labeled DTG rip. If you're in Acrorip 10, you're using Acrorip 11, it'll be DTF rip, just from a software developer. And then you would go to profile, CMYK, and wherever you downloaded Big Boy's profile, or if you by our inch, you download our profile, or you can use the default profiles that are set here. You will actually copy and paste that ICC profile into this folder. And if you look, you probably can't see that. Let me right click this and go to properties. You can see the actual type of file. It's an ICC, .ICC. It's a ICC profile file, even in the extension. So once you paste that there, you can close this out and you can open up the ICC profile section within the color tab in the bottom right side of the screen. You can click that and click, yours will be set to default, so you can click the use arrow and this will open you up to an array of options after you select your ICC. So all you would do is go down and select the Big Boy ICC profile from this drop down, and then you have what we call rendering intent. Now, rendering intent, I won't get too much into that, but you will be able to just print small files to test your rendering intent. This is done here, and I'll start the next one, but I want to finish this out. So you have what says intent, but it's called rendering intent. So you have saturation, relative colorimetric, and perceptual. And so just very briefly, saturation, it's going to make sure the colors are more saturated. Relative colorimetric, I believe that tries to make the RIP software adjust it to closer to what it thinks the color should be. And perceptual is set for it's going to try to adjust the image and color output to what you see on the monitor itself or the program itself. I like to use saturation, especially for the neon-esque colors, because we need more high saturation so that it doesn't print outside the color gamut of the printer itself. And that's an entirely different lesson on itself. I haven't seen any more questions pop up. Let me know. Please let me know if you have any questions, and we'll try to get them answered here. So I'll close this out, or I can just hit OK. But that's how you import an ICC profile into this. So I want to pack as much value into this video as I can. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and right click. We'll be ready to print this. Very large print. So again, let me see if I can see this on here. So we use a double matte film, so you can't really see the vibrancy of the colors. And I could have lightened up, but this is still pretty vibrant here. But what's most important is the white layer generation. So on the back, we can see 100% white, which I have my settings set to where if we print 100% white, it's still fairly, it's a smooth layer of white because the transfer will still be soft. Now I want you to see the difference between that and a gradient white layer. So that's what we'll print right here next. And I hope you can see this on camera. Probably should have put a light there. This is solid white, which again, you will never see me here at Elegant Edits lay down a full layer of white. It's just not my preference. It makes the print feel heavier. You don't need to waste that much ink. And with our film and our inks, we get a good amount of ink yield, as we mentioned before. So we'll send this over. Still no questions. Let's see if I can share anything else. Let's see. So if I were going to knock the black out, let's open up Photoshop here. I can show you another way of doing that. I mentioned it earlier. So I want everything to be relevant to what we've already discussed. But right now I'm just winging it to fill in the time so that if I upload this to YouTube, I can talk about some things that I haven't mentioned in terms of Acrorip. And again, if you'd like to try inks, you can go to popbtfink.com if you want services like troubleshooting and support. If you want to learn AI designing, you can go to popbtf.com and click on services. I've also posted the link there. So if we go to this folder, I want to choose the same file. So set YouTube. Okay. And I believe we had this. So if we open this file, this is how we would do this in Photoshop. And again, if you're interested in halftoning and all of that, I'll have a detailed course if you use Photoshop on how to knock the black out and do all of this in a couple of clicks. Let me know if you're interested in that. We'll probably do that next week. Or if I can finish some of these bulk orders at the shop, maybe Friday. Don't hold me to that. But basically, if we double click our layer, or we can actually just drag this down, duplicate it, hide this layer. If I wanted to remove all of the black from the image, as you can see here, instead of doing it in Acrorip, as we tried to do this before, just in case you missed it, we talked about, let's say, taking the removing the black ink. So you can see it, hopefully you can see it disappearing there. We talked about doing that. So instead of doing that, you could go here and select, you can use the marquee tool or the magnetic lasso tool. And all of these things I teach in my mastery class as well. So all of this stuff is pre-recorded. You can watch it on your own time. And we go to select and similar. So what that would do is select all of the colors that are similar to that. Then we could just hit delete. And we could save this if we wanted to. Obviously, these are words in here, but we could save this if we wanted to. And it will be the same effect, but with better results versus doing it in Acrorip and changing the black to remove all of the black ink. And I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time here, but I'm just trying to do things on the fly where I can show you how you can remove the black from images here. I won't save this because it'll overwrite the file that we had before. Close this out. And I guess I can change this template again so that you can see the artwork. Go back to 12 or 13 by 13, which I changed the scaling of it. So it's not as large as it was before. And we can go to our layout tab and make sure these two match. So it's 13 by 13. And if you, just in case you missed it, first we did 100% white, which is a solid layer of white. This isn't, unless you change, if you adjust your white ink limit percentage and lower it, you can still produce soft hand transfers. But the pro move is to do the gradient white, and you can see it's only going to lay that white behind colors that needs it. You know, the lighter colors to maintain that vibrancy once it's pressed to a shirt. And then we adjusted the slider here, so we did 100% white on this one. And we printed a gradient white. We printed a gradient white on the other one, so we can compare that print to the next one that's coming off, which should appear a lot lighter. Now, if we needed to increase the white generation over this black, you can see we can go back to 100%, or we can make it lighter or darker. You can start to see the shift in the word light here. And that print's about done. I can tell just by listening to it. Okay, so go back. I just wanted to explain that for those that missed. Now, if you're doing this and you're following along with me, you can change the view. So these are the different views. You won't be able to see that white layer generation unless you select the white view. So this is done. Okay. Now notice the difference. You see how in the word nurse, it's more gray, it's more, it seems like the white ink is more opaque. But this is actually how you want to print your transfers, to have the softest hand possible. And again, it's going to vary by the type of ink that you're using. So let's compare this. If I can, scissors over here. See if I can stagger these this way. I hope you can see the difference here. So we have 100% white versus gradient white. Okay, so we have 100% white on, I guess, it'll be your left side. And then we have gradient white on your right side. So notice how the black in the image has less white on it, because when you print black, black is always going to be black. On the light shirt, you don't need the vibrancy, but you do need a little bit of white to give it the stretch and the rebound so that the transfer doesn't crack. And again, if you're printing on pre-treated transfer, pre-shrunk shirts, you're printing on pre-shrunk shirts, then you may not even need much white at all because it's already pre-shrunk. So I feel like this live has gone on long enough. I appreciate all the love and support. Again, we're here for you, whether you need inks, whether you need training with a mastery class, whether you need uh, help with learning how to design with AI, or help learning Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. We've got you covered. If you need printer technical support on maintaining your specific model printer, or repairing or troubleshooting it, or if you need Epson parts, you can reach out to me and I'll get you in touch with our Epson technician to get you the fairest price possible, whether you need a print head or whatever breaks down. We are located here in Cedar Hill, Texas. If you want us to print transfers for you, that's going to be info@eleganteditsco.com, and you type this in the chat. And we can do that for you. I hope this information has benefited you in some way. And if I do upload this to YouTube, we'll close this out the way I normally do it on YouTube. I appreciate all of the love and support. Thank you for watching. I hope you've been blessed and that your business could be somehow blessed by this information. Thank you. And as always, stay elegant, Friend Society.